Hi, everyone. Welcome to Getting to Gold, the entrepreneur's journey, the conversation. I am your host, Jessica Bull. I am the managing attorney here at J. Bull Consulting Firm, LLC, where we help small businesses, entrepreneurs, and creative create a strong legal foundation by providing guidance, business, and legal counsel. We are here for another episode of Getting to Gold. I'm so excited. Thank you so much for being on this journey with us as we talk about the entrepreneur's journey through getting to gold. Today we have Coach Keisha with us, and we are going to talk about mindset and the subconscious. Ooh. And what in the world does that have to do with running your business? All right, Keisha, welcome to the show. Why don't you kind of tell people who you are, what you do, and what you're all about?
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. I am a mindset and energy coach and healer. And so I work with entrepreneurs to help them clear mindset and energy blocks that are keeping them stuck in their business or that are keeping them from scaling to where they want to be in their business so that they can actually achieve success without as much drama as we can sometimes have as entrepreneurs.
Oh, she said not as much drama. So why don't you kind of tell us, like, how did you get into what you're doing, being a mindset coach and the energy? Like, how did you get into that?
Yeah, it's a long story, but I'll try to abbreviate it as much as possible. So basically, I graduated from college in 2010. I went to Stanford. After that, worked at Facebook and had this life of you're set to live your dreams. You're set to, have a great life. And if you stay on this track, you're good to go. But I just knew that it wasn't for me. I knew I needed to be doing something different. I didn't know what it was. And so at that time, I pivoted to working in fitness. And if anyone knows, if anyone knows anything about fitness actually has a lot to do with your mindset. What we eat, whether or not we work out, how active we tend to be has a lot to do with your mindset. So that's kind of where it began for me to kind of study it and incorporate that. And I started my business in 2018 as a health coach and fitness, nutrition, and mindset coach is what I called myself. And in that journey of starting my own business is where I realized how much mindset affects entrepreneurs as well. And I realized that for me specifically, the key to my success was working on myself. And I really kind of fell in love with that journey and kind of felt more distant from my health and fitness journey. And I just knew that it was time to make a switch and do something that really I felt passionate about again. And so that's how I got here.
I think that makes sense. That's awesome. What a journey. Right. And we love talking about journeys here. So what was the shift for you? Because you did say you were working for others. So why did you like, you know what? I can definitely do this myself. I can definitely help people myself. I can definitely take that leap. For those who are used to maybe working for someone, what was the factor for you?
Good question. It was kind of always something in the back of my mind that I wanted to do, but I didn't for the longest time know how it was going to happen. I thought, I open a fitness studio. Like, what is this going to look like? And I think I just stumbled upon someone who had started an online business. She was an online fitness coach. And when I saw that, I realized this is how I can make it happen, low overhead, but just in general, the idea that I could do something on my own. I personally always felt that way and had this entrepreneurial spirit from being young, starting lemonade stands and starting an online magazine. So it was always there. I just didn't know how it was going to come to fruition. But if anyone watching is kind of trying to figure this out for themselves, my best advice is if I can do it, you can do it. Like, there's a way to start a business, especially now with the internet, that is not as complicated as I feel they make it seem. It's hard, but it's not as complicated as we think it is.
That's really true, right? Like, I have found that sometimes we can get in our own way. I often tell entrepreneurs and business owners, you just don't know what you don't know. And really, you have to start. At some point, the research has to stop, the YouTube has to close, and you have to just start. And as you start, you'll start to realize the important parts that you may be missing, right? You're like, wait, how is everybody else doing this? What is everybody else doing? And you'll start asking questions. You'll start asking questions that are relevant, right? They're relevant to what you're trying to accomplish. Sometimes we get into the weed about stuff that is relevant to your business. Like, what do you need to know about how to do that? That has nothing to do. You haven't even made $100, So it's just like, let's prioritize here, So that completely makes sense. So I know you said that you kind of got into it and you saw like another coach and you were like, oh, wow, if she can do it, I can do it. And you're encouraging others. So it's not as complicated as we think, right? But it still is hard. So what surprised you about starting your business? Like, what's something you're just like, wait a minute, anybody tell me about this?
That's definitely the inner work for me. It's the like spiritual journey almost that I've been brought on by starting a business, because what happens when we start a business is we start to have to put ourselves out there. We start to, depending on what kind of business you start, but it's like your idea that you're putting out into the world. And if you're a service provider, people are telling you no, you're getting rejected. There's all of these things that we don't experience really that often anyway in a normal 9-to-5. So it can be kind of a triggering experience to experience all of these things that you're not used to. And so I realized that in order to keep going, really, it's about being able to continue on the path and not giving up. I needed to do the work on myself to where I could handle rejection and I could be more confident in showing up for myself and my business and what I have to offer. So that was it for me.
Yes, you are right on the money. It's funny because as your business continues to grow, they're like, you got to separate yourself from the business, right? But when you're starting, you are the business is you. Yes. So really, as healthy as you are is as healthy as your business is going to be, and as quickly as you're able to get over those hurdles in your mind is as quickly as your growth is going to happen, right? Because you have to believe before you can achieve. We know that. We know that, right? So we're talking about the mindset. So you went on your spiritual journey. Why don't you kind of share with us a little bit? We like to get personal here at Getting to Go. We like to get personal. We want to have those conversations, right? Like, okay, this really surprised me. You say you like, okay, this is really like a lot more. So why don't you kind of walk us through maybe something that you had to conquer in order to really push your business forward?
Really good question. So many things, but I think the first big one that I can remember is, this is personal, but you said that you're okay going there, but my need to impress my parents, my need to,
Listen, I know there are some people out there who can relate to this one. Talk about it.
Yes. So I was the overachiever, right? I was the good student. I was the one who was doing everything my parents wanted me to do. And when I made the decision to start by leaving Facebook was when it all started for me to feel this weight that they weren't really intentionally putting on me, but I just felt it. And I had to really come to terms. It wasn't till 10 years later, really, that I figured that out. But I came to terms with it, and I did some work to move through it and to actually release that burden that I had really put on myself.
No, that's so honest, right? Like, I think most people who are entrepreneurs can relate to their community, right? Or people around you, including your parents, your family, not understanding what you're doing, right? It could even be people who are in your same profession, like, that's not how you're supposed to do it. Or you could feel really isolated because you're the only one doing it, right? Sometimes, some of us are, I grew up in an entrepreneurial family, so starting a business wasn't like, ooh, my dad was an entrepreneur since I known him. It was 7 of us. So I didn't know anything. I actually didn't know people struggle with the idea of starting a business. It never occurred to me that I would not run a business. It was never, I already knew I was going to do it. So that is so true. Like, there's so many people, and I know you guys out there who may be struggling, like, what about my community? What about, no one's ever done it before? But I do want to encourage you that it's not like the old days, okay? There is a huge community out there who can support you. And did you find communities while you were running and doing your business? Like, what kind of communities did you find yourself kind of like hopping in and like, oh, this is great, this is how I can push my business forward? Because I'm a strong believer that community is a huge part of launching a business, especially if this is your first time or you don't have your own community.
Yeah, I agree. And I've been a part of so many different communities because I've been a part of so many different programs, group coaching programs, and
Okay.
those always bring like-minded people together, and you get to meet because you're at a similar point in your journey. Networking is also something that I've gotten into and really actually enjoy, of just showing up, talking to other business owners, seeing what you have in common. You can sometimes, make sales that way, or you just make a friend. You meet someone who can understand where you're coming from. And also collaboration. So doing things like this, where you're meeting people, talking to them, understanding their journey, and just getting your face out to the world where more people can connect with you. I think that's how I go about building community.
I think that's really good. And I mean, we hear networking all the time, but I think I want to kind of pull out something you said, like everything doesn't have to be a sales, right? Everything doesn't have to be a sale. You can just form a relationship. Relationships can be very powerful, because when you are moving, sometimes you need somebody to talk to. Like, are you dealing with this? Are you going through this? What should I do with this situation? This client, oh my God, how do I fire them? Like these are serious conversations, and having colleagues, even if they're in different fields, who are doing it the same, even if they're not giving you money, can be very, very helpful. So I just wanted to pull that out. So Keisha, I know you work with different clients and you work with their mindset. Why don't you kind of share with us how you work with your clients and what you have learned as you've developed your business and working with them?
Yeah, so I have kind of a unique approach to mindset. I blend intuitive guidance, mindset coaching through NLP, and energy healing through breath work, Reiki, sound healing. And what I do is I help clients clear, as I mentioned before, energetic and mindset blocks. But it's really about identifying the block, clearing and releasing it, and then healing from whatever caused it. Because often what I hear the most from entrepreneurs, what I see the most with my clients, is that we're getting stuck in self-doubt. We're getting stuck with imposter syndrome, comparisonitis, procrastination. I could go on, but all of these things are happening for a reason. I just saw a post the other day. Why am I procrastinating? What can I do about procrastination? Procrastination is happening for a reason. It probably is because you're doubting yourself in some way or something else. And then we have to look at where that came from. Where did this doubt come from? And it's usually tied back to something that happened to you in your childhood that gets stored in your subconscious mind. So that's kind of how it all connects.
Okay. So when you're working with your clients, are you working with them over an extended period of time, or is it, okay, I do a session and all of a sudden I'm cured of procrastination? Yeah. I talk to Keisha for half an hour and procrastination be gone, right?
I wish.
What is that like?
I would say, it depends on how deep you're trying to go. I would say you'll see changes after, I would say, a month to 3 months of working with me. But to really change from the inside out and feel like you're kind of a different person, I would say 6 months is the sweet spot. But I do offer different levels of what I do. So that's one-on-one coaching, that time frame. I have small group coaching, and I do offer single sessions if you want to just learn and kind of get started.
Okay. No, that makes sense. I always like to point out how long change can happen. I think we often live in a warm-up microwave where we think that if we read a book, all of a sudden I'm transformed. And really, entrepreneurship and business ownership is a journey. I think one of the first steps you take is taking the leap to take your business seriously. A lot of entrepreneurs say they start a business, but it's not really a start. It's kind of like a hit, stop, reverse. I don't really want to do that. You're still treating it as a hobby. So really the first leap you take is really that jump. And then you don't really stop jumping. You have to keep, child, you got to keep leaping. You think you hit something and then you're like, oh, actually, you might start to be like, oh, I'm so happy I made $1,000 worth of sales. And now you're like, you know what? I want to make $10,000.
Yep.
$10,000. You're like, you know what? 6-figure months. Right? It literally doesn't matter. Every month, every time you're moving, it's always a journey. So I think that makes sense that it would take 6 months to a year. You're trying to unpack years, right? Sometimes years of stuff within a 6-month period. To me, that's a good transfer, right? If I can get over things that I've been believing for 10 years in 6 months, that's fantastic. That's fantastic, right? I don't think people think about it that way, but it is completely common. So we discussed some of the common things, right? Like procrastination and self-doubt that people go through. Why don't you talk to me about like one of your like favorite techniques when it comes to working with someone and increasing their mindset?
Favorite things that I do with someone?
Yes.
Like everything I work on with someone?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just gotta be, it's hard for me to pick favorites. I think it's just gotta be the self-doubt. I think that's my favorite thing to work on with someone because it seeps into so many other things. Like it's connected to imposter syndrome. It's connected to procrastination. It's connected to you comparing yourself with other people. We all kind of have this idea that we're not good enough, and it manifests it for us in different ways. So that's kind of the core issue that we're all dealing with as humans. So that to me is what I feel most passionate about, because it's not just going to help someone in their business, it's going to help them in the rest of their life as well.
Okay. Yeah. No, I think that makes sense. That makes sense to me. A lot of self-doubt is definitely, it's definitely very present. And if you can get past it and believe you can do whatever, then you're fine. So I'm going to ask the big question. Like we kind of talked about it a little bit, but really, why is mindset so important?
So
let's just talk it direct. Like we've been kind of talking around it, but like let's really answer that question. Because for me, I'm trying to make money. What does that have to do with self-doubt? Like I'm procrastinating, but I'm still making this money. So what does mindset have anything to do with my business? Because everyone's not struggling with self-doubt and procrastination. Right? Some people are like, I'm out here killing it. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't need Keisha.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you are killing it, then maybe you don't. But it depends on where you're trying to go and whether or not you're getting there and how quickly you want to get there. I always tell people to imagine what their business would be like if they weren't so afraid to hear no. Or imagine what your business would be like if you did all of the things you knew you had to do when you knew you needed to do them. If you put yourself out there for the opportunities that scared you, reached out to collaborate with people who you felt were above you, all of that, if you did those things, where would your business be versus where is it now? And the difference is mindset, right? Because you've got what you needed to get where you are, and you're still looking up there like, okay, what's stopping me? It's mindset.
And that's what I wanted to pull out, right? That you could be successful in your business and still have fear that you're not addressing because you are successful or successful in your mind, right? Because for me, you could be starting out and success is $500 worth of sales. But if you shift your mindset, then success is the growth that you've had in your business and getting $10,000 worth of sales. So mindset can shift what you even consider success or failure, right? I know for me, failure became success. I was like, well, I know, and I can help, and I can teach, and I have the data now, right? Where if my mindset's different, then failure is a reflection on me as a person and my self-esteem and my abilities, which it is not. So that's why I wanted to point that out. I think sometimes there is this confusion that mindset coaches and things of that nature are really only for people who are just starting out and they're just trying to take that leap. But really it's about finding those blind spots that you don't even know you have because you're just moving, right? And we like to move. So so how can someone pinpoint, right, these beliefs or specific limiting beliefs that they may be holding yourself? Like what's one piece of advice you can give to someone to help them maybe pinpoint like, oh, I didn't even know that I was limiting myself that way?
My biggest piece of advice is kind of twofold. One, you've probably already heard, but you might not be doing, which is to slow yourself down and pay attention to your thoughts. This was a game changer for me because when I started to pay attention to what happened before I said no to something or what happened before I didn't do something, whatever it was, I realized the thought that went into it. And I realized how much I was holding myself back. And that in and of itself was eye-opening. The second thing I would recommend is to begin meditation, because meditating, if you do it regularly, and I'm talking just start with 5 minutes and work your way up to maybe 10 minutes, just start small. But if you do it consistently, you're going to train your prefrontal cortex, which is the region of your brain that makes decisions. And when you do that, you're able to catch yourself in those moments. Because a lot of us are on autopilot. We're moving so fast, we don't even notice what we're saying to ourselves. That stops us. So when you meditate, you can actually be able to slow yourself down and pay attention.
I love that. I love that. And would you have a recommended time of day for someone who, like, when should they be meditating? Like, ideally, you think?
Whenever you will do it, honestly.
Okay.
In the morning, first thing in the morning or before you go to bed would be best if you're really looking for a specific time, because that is where your brain is starting to go into alpha or theta brainwave state, which again is where you can access your unconscious mind a little bit more readily.
Okay.
But some meditation is better than no meditation. So I don't want anyone listening to feel like, oh, I can't do it at those times, so I'm just not going to do it at all.
Right. And that's what I wanted to point out. I think when people think meditating, they think like the sunrise, right? Like, like, no, you can meditate. And so I used to, when I lived with a lot, you know, with my family, I used to actually meditate in my car because there was the only quiet place, you know, where I knew no one could have, like, there's no one to be like, hey, Jeffy, what, you know, there was nothing. It was just like car. Also, sometimes I would meditate walking, something about being in nature, being in the sun and just sitting out in the, you know, the trees and the grass, it just calmed me and let me really clear my mind. So I just wanted to point that out to everyone. I think we hear meditation and we think, oh, I can't do that. But really it's about finding a quiet spot to sit your behind down or lay down or crisscross applesauce, put the phone down, put the music away, and really just be with your thoughts. And I know that's scary. I know. But you can do it. And it's so important. Keisha, you have given us so many good tips. I love slow down and pay attention to your thoughts. I hope you guys will start meditating today. Okay. Today. Today. Like if it like be like, okay, I'm done. I'm going to go meditate. So if 5 minutes. She said 5 minutes. We can do 5 minutes. Yeah. So if people want to connect with you, how can they find you? What, you know, they're like, oh, Keisha, she's, you know, the puff, the earrings, the science, the mind. I need this girl. How can they find you?
So I am on Instagram at Coach Keisha, and I think I have a free gift. Should I say that?
Yes.
Okay.
Tell us about your free. We love free here.
Awesome. So I'm actually offering a free client attraction session. So just like Jesse said, if you were kind of vibing with what we were talking about, thinking I need to learn more about what you do, then this is a free session where we will actually pinpoint the subconscious blocks that are standing in your way of your business and figure out what the next steps might be for you to clear them.
Oh, yes. Okay. So I put the links to Keisha in the bio. You have her website, you have her social, and you have the special offer. So please take advantage of that because she said free, y'all. And really, you know, your time is valuable. So we appreciate you even taking the time to talk to people on your time for free. Like, we honor that. So it's been so good to have you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Getting to Gold. This will actually be our last episode for the year in 2020. We will have another, and we're starting up a new season for 2021. I hope you guys enjoy your holiday, and remember to wear a mask. Have a good rest of the day.